Good morning, gentlemen. This morning I'm just enjoying the weather again. It's a beautiful day out here, as it has been the past 4 or 5 days, and I'm enjoying some early morning pipe tobacco out of my Viking 301 again. Sometimes you just got to have a double take of this stuff, and it's a pretty good one. This pipe smokes like a dream, and the tobacco in it's pretty good. I was thinking about something this morning. My wife and I, we were coming back from town the other day, and we passed by a lot of dead squirrels in the road. It's that time where squirrels are out and about and running around, and they get run over a lot, especially in the back roads here. You come around a corner, there's always a squirrel in the middle of the road. And I don't know if you guys have ever watched squirrels, but there's a reason they get run over a lot. And the reason is, you see, when you're coming up on a squirrel, if you guys have ever have squirrels running around where you live, you'll notice that they can't decide which way they want to go. They'll kind of go to the left, and then they'll veer off to the right, and they'll go back to the left, and next thing you know, if they're sitting there for too long, which it happens a lot, splat, they get run over. It's unfortunate, and it happens far too often. So most other critters, they're pretty smart, deer, possums, things like that, skunks, they see you and they start running. Sometimes they run in the wrong direction and they'll get hit, but for the most part they get out of the way. But squirrels are an exception. They never really know which way to go. They can never decide which way they want to run. And it's funny, we were driving, and I told my wife, I said, that squirrel won't decide which way it's going to go, because it was sitting there going back and forth, and I guess it went right under the car. But she said, man, that'd make a really good YouTube video for you. And I said, it really would, because I actually had a pastor friend of mine one time who preached a sermon about it years ago. I can't remember everything that was in the sermon, but I can remember that it was about squirrels. It's funny how that sort of thing happens. And in our lives, it doesn't do us any good to be undecisive. Hopefully this wind doesn't mess up the video. You need to have a plan, and you need to stick with it. You see, if you come up to an obstacle in your life and you can't decide which way to go, well, maybe I should go this way, or maybe I should go that way, or no, I should go back this way. Well, that car's coming fast, and it's going to end up hitting you. You got to make sure you know what you're doing. You have to have a plan. Every good man has a plan for his life. Now, I'm not saying you have to have it all worked out. I'm not saying you have to have all your ducks in a row, but just have ambition and run towards it. You see, if you're like a squirrel, then you're just going on life, collecting your nuts and whatnot. And then when something happens, if something starts to go bad, starts to go south, you all of a sudden can't decide what you have to do about that certain situation. You're like, oh man, well, I don't know what I was doing. I can't remember what I was doing, so I'm going to go this way, or I'm going to go that way, or well, maybe I should stay here, maybe I should, hunker down. And really, you should think about that ahead of time and plan it out. Always have a plan. And men are particularly good at this. In police academy, from what I understand, now I'm not a police officer, never have been, but they're trained to resource information and come up with an exit plan at all times. I've I've heard the same thing about the military, and it makes sense because you want to be aware of your surroundings and ready for any situation. And see, we need to do the same with our life, not only in expectation of dangerous situations, but we need to have a plan for everything. I could start an adventure, and or an endeavor, and start a new business or something like that, and I'll start going about that business, but I need to have a plan for if or when that business fails. What am I going to do if that business decides to fail? What's my backup plan? Or what's my backup plan if my company decides to shut down? Or what's my backup plan if the price of lumber skyrockets like it did? And we had a plan, and we actually ended up executing that plan. You see, I want to tell you a little story about our plan and how we planned ahead. You see, we were engaged to get married, and I told my fiance at the time, now wife, we should build our house debt-free. And I had a great job at the time, and it was a good, solid job, paid very well. And price of lumber was still pretty cheap at that time. It was kind of beginning of COVID, and before the prices skyrocketed for building materials. And so we planned out our house, and we had a set number of how much it was going to cost for us to get our house up. And we started working on that house, but I told my wife ahead of time, before we got married, I said, listen, our plan is to have this house done before we get married, which was in 5 or 6 months from then. And I told her, if we can't get the house done, we need a backup plan. And we decided, we would purchase a camper, because I was living in a camper at the time, but it was not suitable for 2 people. And I told her, maybe we can go out and just buy a decent camper. And we came up with that plan, but we still wanted to get the house done. It's not like we weren't trying to get the house done before we got married. Well, lo and behold, the price of lumber skyrocketed 500, 600, 900% of what it was supposed to be. And our house came to a standstill. We weren't financially prepared for that sort of, nobody can be financially prepared for that sort of increase. So we ended up purchasing the camper, and we're still building the house. The house is coming along, because what you have to understand is not only did the price of materials increase, but I had a significant job change, and ended up being very, very traumatic for my financial situation, should I say. I went from making a steady income every month to I don't know how much money I'm going to make. So I had to account for that, and we ended up taking a pretty big financial hit. And we're still getting the house built. It's coming along. I've got another stable job again, and we're living in our camper full time. It's been a good run, but if we weren't prepared, we would be like squirrels on the road right now. We would have, let's go and do this, or let's go and do that. Well, maybe we should stay here. And all that time deciding what we're going to do, that car done came and ran right over us. So always be prepared. Try and figure out a backup plan. You don't need to get crazy over it. You don't want to cause anxiety for yourself, but always come up with a backup plan and try and get it done. Without a backup plan, we would not be in the situation we're in. We would probably be worse off. And I'm thankful that I did have a plan, and that we set a plan in place, because this house was supposed to be done a year ago. We started it a year and a half ago, and it's not done yet, and it'll still take a while, but we're making headway, and I'm proud of what we've done. And I'm excited to see what we'll do in the future. So push comes to shove, don't be like a squirrel. That's about all I have to say today, gentlemen, and I'll see you in another video. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.